G'day guys, and welcome to DCS World. My name is Lindemann, and this is the Car 50 in the VERGEEV campaign. I believe this is mission number 4. This is not live commentary. The microphone or the audio recording screwed up. Wasn't my fault. I'm not going to point fingers. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a bit of a commentary over this with a few edits to cut out the dead time where I'm kind of looking for the objective. Mission 4 follows on from Mission 3. To recap, Mission 3 had a MI-28 patrol. One of the two MI-28s that we have stationed at Sociedla Air Base exploded inexplicably, crashed, killing the crew, and we went to investigate, but there was no signs of life. So now we are escorting a major from the Air Force or Army or something, and he's in a MI-8 and he's going to the crash site.
223 in the channel, Naval. 223, all flights except for aircraft involved into rescue operation are stopped all over the base. 223 ensures the secure pass of Logovo and stable operation. Firstly, you guide stable, cover the drop-off, and upon command from stable, cover Logovo target approach. Having obtained all clear signal from Logovo, return to base. How do you copy 223?
Naval, 233, copy that. Escorting stable, and then Logovo. RTB upon Logovo cancel signal.
That's right, 223. Be extremely attentive at the border. Passing of state border is forbidden.
Naval, 233, understood. No border crossing.
223, Naval. Takeoff from parking place. Go on. The route is open. Over.
Alright, so there we go. So on this mission I'm escorting Stibble or something like that. That's the MI-8 with the major on board. After that I'm going to escort Logovo or something like that, which is a convoy of investigators going to the same place. So just getting the Car 50 Black Shark up and running here, getting the right engine up and running, a bit of avionics on. We've got the APU cranking the right engine right now. The left engine is running. That's a standby attitude indicator. When the engine gets to 20%, we slide that red handled lever forward, and that gives us fuel. And the turbine catches, and the auto start sequence takes it from there, and you can see on the right hand dial there that it's ticking through up to idle for the right engine. The Abris here shows our flight plan, so it's pretty simple. Over there, waypoint 3 is where the crash occurred, somewhere around there. It's pretty close to the border, which is that big red line, and that's something that we can't cross or we will be apparently shot down, and that would not be cool. These missions are very realistic and immersive, you know, lots of recordings, lots of interactions. Pretty hard to understand the Russians, but along with that, it's not your typical action-packed first-person shooter type experience, so you're not shooting a whole lot of missiles and cannons, and it's not open warfare. It's typical military operations during peacetime. So we've got the engines up to full running power now, and we've turned off the APU. You'll notice the HUD is not ready, so that's still sorting itself out. We've got to get the countermeasures on because that wasn't appearing in the top right there. There we go. And I need to make sure that the INU is aligned, and I actually, even though I've flown this for a long time, I don't know how I do that. So the green light there for the laser warning system is now turned on, so that's probably good to go. I've got to do the autopilot channels, which I'm just going through the final check, and I'll catch that here that I did not do some of these systems. That's alright. So we've got the data link. I'm actually the only Car 50 stationed at this airbase, so there's a bit of a shortage. There was another crash a couple of months ago, which means we're all in a bit of trouble. Okay, so just walking through the pre-flight check. The HUD is now on. I'm assuming the INU is aligned, which has, I think, the gimbals in it to run things like the autopilot channels, I think. So there's a few things which I'm still a little bit hazy on. I kind of fly the Black Shark and then take breaks and then come back to it, so I pretty much know everything, but I forget some details as well. So there's one. I put the gear up and hit the wrong switch on my HOTAS, which actually opens the door. That's alright. Okay, so we're up in the air, and what I'm doing here is just checking for actually where the units are that I'm escorting. So I've just skipped forward in time, and we've got a radio call that the Major in his MI8 is starting up, although I still haven't found him. So I'm just flying around the airbase looking for the unit that I am escorting. This is something that can happen the first time you play through missions, and this is the first time playthrough. So I've located the MI8, and he obviously starts up a good 10 minutes after I do, so it's pretty easy to find him. And I thought I'd just escort him while he taxis. Unfortunately, the AI doesn't start off from the parking space like my aircraft is cleared to do. So I'll just make some edits here as we skip forward in time. Alright, so that's the road convoy there calling in that they've exited the base, they've made a left turn, they're heading down the highway at 50k an hour. Okay, so we've followed the Major in his MI8 and his VIP passengers, and they're now just turned on to the second runway. I was a little bit surprised they didn't turn onto the first runway. I thought maybe I've got no idea what's happening in this mission. Is he just going to go to another parking space and shut down? Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? But luckily he did take off. Alright, so I'll trim this in. So the desired heading's now set, and it's I've noticed in these missions that you have gun pods, and only really two stations actually armed with the gun pods, and the aircraft seem to be very light because of it. It's quite good actually. It's different. I usually fly with a dozen Vickers missiles and a whole bunch of rockets, so being in a nice light aircraft like this, you can throw it around and not get into too much trouble. So just zooming in, you can see there's an MI8 off in front, so I'm kind of in line of stern formation as you would be if you're taking off single file. Checking the weapon stations. Yeah, I've got I think the 50 means I've got 500 rounds in the gun pods. I can't quite see them, but they are there. You don't get the F2 external views in this campaign because it's meant to be quite realistic, so sometimes if you don't read the briefing fully, you can sometimes struggle to see things that you would expect to know, like your flight number or the armaments or what the outside of your aircraft even looks like. Alright, so that's a radio call there from the MI8 doing a left turn and heading towards the crash site. I'm just going to do a bit of a leading line here and use that to catch up. This must be a very noisy neighbourhood to live in, with helicopters flying overhead like this at low altitude. Alright, now I was wondering where the convoy exactly was, and this was quite cinematic. You can see in the front there, just at the HUD, the road convoy and the MI8 are pretty much at the same location now. So I can see exactly what I'm escorting for the second part of this mission. So, handling the VIPs first, and then the not so VIP. I hate this when the AI change altitude, so I reduce speed to avoid a collision, and then I reduce altitude to try and get visual again. You can see him just through the triangle window on the right there. So I start descending to keep visual on the MI8. Just adjusting the trim here to catch up slowly. It's a pretty simple task, and you can see they've got some civilian traffic as well. Now coming up, we've got another town, and the border is not very far away. You can see a rail bridge off to the left. Now I was not really sure where the conflict would suddenly kick off. I don't really know what happens in this campaign, so don't spoil it for me. But yeah, I'm always on guard with the countermeasures, particularly close to the border. I'm always expecting open warfare to break out. The helicopter crash that occurred with the Mi-28 in the last mission, it did look like an explosion, so I was thinking maybe they shot the aircraft down with a SAM, but of course no one's actually talking about that. But maybe in the next mission, after this investigation, they'll find that it was actually shot down, and that's why it crashed. It was definitely an explosion in midair. Alright, a whole lot of radio traffic there. Adjusting the trim, and this aircraft is probably going to do a right-hand turn fairly soon. And when it does, I'll be following it in, and I just managed to do a look to the right, and you can see the green smoke. So now the Mi-8 is on approach. All I need to do is follow it. I'm not landing though. Didn't really want to orbit. I probably should. If you're providing an escort to a landing helicopter, you should go into an orbit. I know the NATO forces do a wheel where they fly. If you've got two helicopters escorting, they fly one clockwise, one counterclockwise around the LZ with I think 100 feet difference in altitude, so that when they come together, one flies just over the other, and that gives them a good coverage of visibility. They can both look in at the LZ and make sure that nothing bad is happening. I'm in a slightly different helicopter, so I can actually wheel around without getting into rotor vortex on the tail rotor, but I don't really maintain much separation like you probably would in real life. Probably because I think I can't really get too far away as part of this mission. I probably need to stick close to what I'm escorting, otherwise I might run the risk of failing the mission or doing something bad. I'm also a little bit conscious that this Mi-8, being AI, might decide to continue on its flight at any time, and I need to get out of its way pretty quick, so I don't want to linger in front of it. You can see it's turned. Didn't actually land. I think this is part of the old code of back from Black Shark 1, where it kind of hovers just above the ground and then troops appear beneath it. And now that we've got more transport helicopters like the UH-1 Huey and the Mi-8 from Belsimtech, they're doing some work to actually add to the mission editor embarking and disembarking troops from helicopters. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's added yet. I don't think you'll get visual sightings of troops like inside the aircraft when you look backwards in the Huey. And I'm just kind of looking at the border here, just eyeballing what's going on. The Mi-8 itself is flying away. I was told not to though. Alright, so now I'm kind of taskless, and so I just hang around, basically, wondering if a SAM is going to come sailing towards me. There we go.
Naval 233, cancel signal acknowledged.
233, Naval copies that. Over.
Alright. So now we have a cancel task there. Turn off the auto hover. Auto hover, quite fancy. I know a lot of people don't like to use the auto hover feature of armour because it's already really easy to fly, but a lot of helicopters do have these fly-by-wire systems and pilot aids, and the more time that you give the pilot from not having to manually control the aircraft, the more time they can actually manage the flight. So I'm all for the auto hover. I don't always use it, but I don't feel bad when I do. So now I've just retracing my steps. If you look on the ABRIS, the big moving map, bottom right corner, there's a black line that shows your flight path so far. And so what I'm doing is I know there's a highway over here, there's railroads, that's not it, and there's the highway. So I find the highway, and now I've got to look for the convoy which was heading along it. And there they are right in front of me. It's pretty easy to retrace your steps in the Black Shark, and yeah, it would have been a real pain if I struggled to find this convoy, because the second part of this mission is escorting it to the same location, and just requires quite a bit of low-level, low-speed flight. You can see one of the convoy is a cherry red fire truck, which is pretty cool. Okay, I'm not going to lower the gear, instead I'm just going to gain some altitude. Typically when I'm doing low speed, low level maneuvers, I actually do lower the landing gear, and I've seen them do that in real life, and it makes sense because having the landing gear up doesn't really offer any benefit if you're not cruising. If you're at low speed, you know, the drag from the landing gear just is not a factor, so you might as well just put the landing gear down, and if you have an engine failure, you've got an extra bit of protection there for the fuselage. So I'm just keeping an eye out, just in case some Georgians have me locked up. The Black Shark has a laser warning system, but it does not have a radar warning system. And I guess most of the time you're flying so low that radar isn't a big threat, but you can get shot down pretty easily without knowing that anything was even pointing at you, particularly heat-seeking missiles. So you have to visually identify a SAM if it's, you know, a shoulder-mounted missile. So just keeping an eagle eye out for any threats whilst hovering pretty much above the convoy. And this is pretty similar to what happened in things like Northern Ireland, where the British Army had scout helicopters above patrols, and they were just looking down, looking for threats, looking down alleyways and over people's houses, looking for anything out of the ordinary, and providing a bit of overwatch. Lots of low-speed flights, probably not orbiting like a real one should, but just the way the trimmer works, and because it's a single-seat helicopter, orbiting is not as easy as it could be. Alright, so the convoy is heading past this village, but I've got them right in sight. They're just radioing that in to the command, and there's an intersection here, and I thought they might have continued on straight. Wasn't exactly sure the route to the crash site, but they do make a right hand turn. So just following along. And checking outside the windows. Right, so I start flying a little bit sideways here. Not sure exactly where they've gone. I think in real life you'd actually have the convoy calling out the turns that they're making, I think. But it'd be quite good to do things like this with the combined arms module and players controlling these units, which you could do pretty easily, even if it's one of the pilots actually controlling them. Or you could have players on the ground controlling vehicles and doing an escort mission of trying to get a certain line of vehicles to a certain location with a whole bunch of threats. So it's all things that I'd like to do if I had more time to play DCS and if it was a bit more of a priority with all the other things that are going on. Combined Arms module, I've read on the forums as well, apparently getting a bit of an upgrade to Combined Arms 1.5, a free upgrade which does magical wonderful things that I don't have the details on exactly, but apart from the rumour mill seems to indicate some SAMs will be added, so the players can control SAM systems. You can do a bit of player versus player, you know, an airbase versus, or some sort of air defence network versus ground attack aircraft, and see who can shoot down the most planes, or who can destroy the SAMs. Be pretty cool when you get a lot more aircraft with anti-radiation missiles as well. Or maybe, you know, you're sneaking in with black sharks and trying to evade the air defence threats which are there. Yeah, it all looks pretty cool. I think the Combined Arms module is something which is going to be added to over a long period of time. Okay, making slow progress. They're just going over the train lines here. And I'm following them intently. This time I'm not quite watching the border like I did before. At least not right now. I will as they start to pull in to the crash site just here.
Lower gear.
Alright, just having a look at the border, making sure nothing bad's happening. I kind of doubt that Georgians would be that interested in a crash site. But then again, maybe they shot down that helicopter and they don't want us to know that, so you never know. Could have been the first shots in a preemptive war. Or maybe I'm just paranoid. Okay, so they're crawling in towards... not sure why they've deployed the green smoke. I guess it's just to help me. And we will actually see the crash site as well. It's just up ahead. There's a burned out wreck of an Mi-28. Alright, so there we go.
Copied that. Objective complete. Over. 223, Naval, return to base. The task is fulfilled.
Naval 223, roger that. RTB, proceeding.
Alright, so we've got the convoy just beneath us in the bridge. You can see the wreck of the Mi-8 just off to the left there, kind of down the bank, and troops all around. Some parked vehicles. Bit of a secure location right now. And the investigators are on hand to have a look at what happened, and I guess in the next mission it may continue on with a mission based on the evidence, but for now my job is done, so it's time to go home. Just trimming the aircraft for forward flight again, and I'm actually kind of flying the flight plan. I did read that, you know, you have to fly the waypoints precisely, so I kind of head off at least initially in that direction before coming in to land. You can see the water off to the left there, very good detail on the water. Even if you're just using the water in low detail, it still looks really good, I think. Just looking at those reflections, it looks really nice. I actually think the engine itself, even though it's old, still looks pretty good. The map has some real jagged edges. Pretty low mesh quality, and some of the textures aren't great either, but the additions that they've done to the lighting and things like that, and I didn't even mind the cloud compared to you know, if you're familiar with the X-Plane default clouds, yeah, I've kind of sort of thought saw them and thought, yuck, but I really don't mind the DCS engine. Wouldn't mind a new map, and early next year we'll have Edge, DirectX 11, some pretty fancy tech, and yeah, hopefully things will get a lot better. Alright, so it's a very short mission in terms of distance from the crash site to the airbase, which is good, and that means that we don't have to really edit much out for the actual return trip, or even the trip to the crash site. It's only a couple of minutes till you're there. They tell you to pretty much come direct into the parking lot and land. There's no real air traffic. Okay, so just getting flight director on. So this is a hands-on approach. It means that my desired heading is no longer being held by the helicopter, and you can see that with a bit of right rudder kicked in, the helicopter starts side slipping. And I'm trying to lose the speed, so I'm kind of corkscrewing down a little bit and trying to figure out which parking space I started in. I didn't make a note of it, so I kind of guess. And remember, this helicopter is pretty light, I'm pretty sure, so you can wrap it around corners and do things that you might not otherwise want to do. Do need to get the landing gear down. Alright, so there's the MI8. Wondered where that was. It's taxiing, so we've come to a standstill pretty much at the same time. Alright, so just choosing my spot carefully. Need to slip to the right, counteract that slip with a bit of left, push it forward a tad, and we'll get into the ground effect fairly soon. Alright, so we're down to about 5 kilometers per hour now. We can put it down. There we go. Back on the ground. Hit page down, which sends the engines back to idle. Just checking my parking spot. Your guess is as good as mine at this point. And we'll start flicking systems off. Nav lights off. Okay, and with that, we'll starve the engines of fuel. Countermeasures, INU, Ekran, get some lights off inside the cockpit, governors off, autopilot channels, and we'll get the fuel shut-off valves closed, ejection seat disarmed, weapon systems off, anti-collision beacon off, fuel suppression system off, and then we've got fuel pumps, radios, communications, AC generators, batteries, the PVI 800 and data link system, and play with the engine selector for a little bit just for the sake of it, and I think that's just about it. So my name's Lindemann, this is DCS World VERGEEV Campaign number 4. Thanks for watching.